They disrespected the entire wrestling business last night, and I'm about to expose exactly what happened at Saturday night's main event that has the entire wrestling world absolutely furious right now. What we witnessed on November 1st, 2025, wasn't just controversial, it was a complete slap in the face to every single fan who's been loyal to this company for decades. And if you're not angry after hearing what I'm about to reveal, then you haven't been paying attention. Look, I need you to drop a comment right now telling me if you saw what happened during that main event finish, because social media is exploding, and people are threatening to cancel their subscriptions. I'm talking about thousands of fans ready to walk away, and honestly, I don't blame them one bit after the absolute circus we witnessed last night. Saturday night's main event was supposed to be WWE's grand return to NBC, a celebration of wrestling history, a throwback to the glory days when SNME actually meant something. Instead, what we got was one of the most baffling, frustrating, and downright insulting shows in recent memory. And I'm not holding back today because someone needs to say what everyone's thinking but too afraid to speak up about. Let's start with the audacity of that opening segment. They brought back Saturday night's main event after years of anticipation, and how do they kick things off? With a segment that went absolutely nowhere. They had the opportunity to make a statement, to remind everyone why SNME is legendary, but instead they delivered something so mediocre that even casual fans were checking their phones within the first 10 minutes. But here's where it gets really interesting and infuriating. The match quality throughout the night was inconsistent at best, and that's being generous. We're talking about a premium live event on network television, and they're delivering matches that would barely qualify as decent television filler on a random Monday night. Where was the intensity? Where was the stakes? Where was the reason for us to care? Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Do you think WWE has lost touch with what made Saturday night's main event special in the first place? Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like they slapped the SNME name on a show without understanding what that brand actually represents. The pacing of the entire event was absolutely atrocious. We had segments that dragged on for what felt like eternities, followed by matches that ended so abruptly you'd think they were running out of airtime. It's like nobody in the production truck understood how to structure a coherent television show. And this isn't some small indie promotion, this is WWE, the biggest wrestling company on the planet, and they couldn't even get basic show structure right. But let's talk about the real controversy that has everyone up in arms. The main event finish was so poorly executed, so badly thought out, that it's trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. I'm not going to spoil every detail just yet because I need you to understand the full context of how we got to that disaster, but trust me when I say that finish has people questioning whether WWE even cares about logical storytelling anymore. Throughout the night, we saw veterans being used in ways that made absolutely no sense for their characters. Legends were brought back just to stand around and look nostalgic without contributing anything meaningful to the show. It felt like WWE was more interested in showing us they could get these names to appear rather than actually having a reason for them to be there. Here's a question for the comment section: how many times can WWE rely on nostalgia before fans start demanding actual substance? Drop your thoughts below because I'm genuinely curious if I'm alone in feeling completely exhausted by these constant throwback events that deliver nothing new. The mid-card was a complete mess. Matches that should have been given time to develop were rushed through like afterthoughts. Storylines that have been building for weeks were treated like they didn't matter at all. And don't even get me started on the commentary team, who seemed more interested in pushing corporate talking points than actually calling the action in the ring. Speaking of the ring action, let's address the elephant in the room. The work rate was shockingly subpar for a show of this magnitude. We've seen these same performers deliver incredible matches on regular programming, but last night? It's like they were told to work safe and keep everything basic. Where was the innovation? Where was the risk-taking that makes wrestling exciting? The women's division once again got the short end of the stick. In 2025, when we're supposed to have evolved past treating women's wrestling as secondary, they still can't get a proper spot on a major show. The match they were given was so short and so inconsequential that it felt like an insult to everyone involved. These women work their tails off week after week, and this is how they're rewarded on a premium show? Now, I want you to think about something and let me know your opinion. Is WWE deliberately sabotaging their own programming, or are they really this out of touch with what fans want? Because at this point, it's getting harder to tell the difference. The celebrity involvement, oh boy, don't get me started on the celebrity involvement. Look, I understand that mainstream crossover can be good for business, but when you prioritize someone who can barely throw a worked punch over your actual roster, you're sending a message to your wrestlers that they don't matter. And the fans see this. We're not stupid. Let's talk about the booking decisions that made absolutely zero sense. They had opportunities to elevate young talent, to create new stars, to build momentum for upcoming storylines. Instead, they went with the safe choice every single time. The predictable choice. The boring choice. It's like the creative team is allergic to taking chances or doing anything that might actually excite the audience. The production values, which are usually WWE's strong suit, even had noticeable issues. Camera cuts were jarring, audio was occasionally off, and there were moments where it seemed like nobody was actually directing the show. For a company that prides itself on being a television production powerhouse, these are unacceptable mistakes on a show of this importance. Here's what really grinds my gears though, and answer this in the comments: when did WWE decide that insulting their audience's intelligence was acceptable? Because that's what last night felt like. They presented storylines that made no logical sense and expected us to just accept it without question. The tag team division, which has been struggling for months, got absolutely zero help from the show. They had a chance to showcase what makes tag team wrestling special, to remind people why teams working together can create magic. Instead, we got a throwaway match that nobody will remember by next week. Championship reigns mean nothing when you book them like this. Titles are supposed to represent prestige, accomplishment, and being the best at what you do. But when you have champions looking weak, losing non-title matches, or barely appearing on premium shows, you're destroying the value of those championships. And once that value is gone, it's incredibly difficult to rebuild. The story beats throughout the night were predictable to the point of being insulting. Every twist could be seen coming from a mile away. Every surprise was telegraphed so obviously that it wasn't surprising at all. Wrestling works best when there's genuine uncertainty about what might happen next, but WWE has fallen into such predictable patterns that fans can book the shows themselves. Let me ask you this, and I'm really curious about your answers: what would you have done differently if you were booking Saturday night's main event? Drop your fantasy booking in the comments, because I guarantee most of you could have put together something more compelling than what we actually got. The pacing issues I mentioned earlier deserve more attention because they ruined potentially good moments. When you have a hot segment followed by a commercial break, then a backstage interview that kills momentum, then another commercial break before finally getting back to the action, you're destroying your own show. Momentum is everything in wrestling, and WWE seems to have forgotten this basic principle. Now let's get to the main event disaster that has everyone talking. The finish was so convoluted, so unnecessarily complicated, that even die-hard fans are struggling to understand what actually happened. Wrestling finishes should be clear, decisive, and leave you wanting more. Instead, this left everyone confused, frustrated, and questioning why they invested 3 hours into watching this show. The post-match angle that followed somehow made things worse. Instead of clarifying the confusion or building towards something interesting, they doubled down on the nonsense and left us with more questions than answers. And not the good kind of questions that make you tune in next week, the bad kind that make you question whether the people writing the show even communicate with each other. Social media immediately exploded with criticism, and rightfully so. Fans pay money to watch these shows, whether through tickets, streaming services, or dealing with commercials on network TV. They deserve better than what was delivered last night. They deserve storylines that make sense, matches that feel important, and finishes that satisfy rather than frustrate. Here's my final question for you, and this is important: do you think WWE can recover from shows like this? Or are we watching a company that's become too comfortable and has stopped trying to deliver quality content? Let me know in the comments, because I think we're at a critical point for the wrestling industry. The truth is, Saturday night's main event should have been a home run. They had everything going for them: the nostalgia factor, network television exposure, a stacked roster, and an audience ready to embrace something special. Instead, they delivered a show that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Wrestling fans are loyal, perhaps to a fault. We'll defend our favorite companies, wrestlers, and storylines even when they don't deserve it. But that loyalty isn't infinite, and WWE seems to be testing exactly how much they can get away with before fans start walking away for good. So here's what I need from you: share this video with every wrestling fan you know who's frustrated with the current product. Leave your honest thoughts in the comments, don't hold back. And let WWE know that we deserve better than what we got at Saturday night's main event. Because until we start demanding excellence, we're going to keep getting mediocrity wrapped in nostalgia.